It is with corpulent pleasure that I now present to you, the Six Music listener, our next item. It's an opportunity for us to catch up with, on a weekly basis actually, one of the nation's and our most beloved bands, buckish, brash, belligerent, brimming with bonhomie. It is the Manic Street Preachers Tour Diary. We have on the phone line, all the way from somewhere in the United Kingdom, Nicky Wire. Good morning, Nicky.
Hello, Shaun. Well, those Leeds, eh? It's always a problem, isn't it, with those Leeds?
Bloody Leeds! Why?
I remember once supporting the Levellers, and I got into a right strop, and I did smash my bass up and the bass amp, and then Shaun came up to me and looked round the back and went, "You didn't plug it in." There you go.
So that's good to know that it happens to the best of us, Nicky. It really is. But in all honesty, when I think, you know, you might know this, but again, you're a professional musician. You're a rehearsed musician. You rehearse, you play properly. Whereas I tend to, when I play, just sort of cobble things together. I imagine it was for the best that my guitar was unplugged at that point.
I don't know. I've heard you play. You're all right.
No,
You're a nifty little boy.
Well, thank you. It's extremely sweet of you. I take that on the chin.
Probably practice more than I do.
I don't know about that. Now, where are you currently?
I'm in London.
Oh, you are,
I drove down from Edinburgh yesterday. We started off in Scotland, in the Granite City, up in Aberdeen and Glasgow, and mega gig in Edinburgh.
Oh, really?
I'm now back in the big smoke. And
because we know from old that you, well, I mean, I may be getting this completely wrong, but from what I know of you, I always thought you a man who likes to be at home. He likes his home comforts. What is when it comes to doing a big concert tour? How do you feel? How does it make you feel? Do you sort of dread it a little bit, or is it excitement and dread, or what percentage dread versus excitement is it?
I think it's 50-50, but once you get going, that all evaporates. Yeah. Once you're faced with an amazing crowd of people who generally, kind of like you, who have come to see you, I think that the dread soon evaporates and you get into the swing of it. And, it is different to what it used to be, obviously. But
yeah.
It's still a massive thrill just to get on stage, really, and still see all those. Just when you get off stage and you're sweating and you're dripping and your knees are hurting and your back's hurting, it just feels like you've done a job. What my dad would call you've done a job, a day's work today, son.
You've done a proper day's work. Yeah. Tungsten carbide drill. But it is true to say. I mean, Matt and I were very lucky to catch you guys doing your Postcards from a Young Man launch, which was probably a couple of months ago now. Yeah. And you play at the Hammersmith Working Men's Club, one of the smaller venues that you would play these days. But you were drilled tight, man. I mean, you were tighter than the Six Music band. You were so good. I mean, and I've rarely managed to catch you live over the years, but that's the best thing I've ever heard as far as you're concerned. It was just such a powerful sound. When you're on this tour, are you, because there are a lot of guests on the record, are there going to be any joining you at all, or are you just going to eschew that completely and just have
I think the great Mr. McCulloch's going to hopefully join us. I'm not sure, maybe Liverpool, but I know he's got the Buddy Men are going to South America, but I think he's definitely doing one or two of the Brixtons. And we did have a text off Duff from Guns N' Roses saying, "Hey, you guys, I might come to Norwich or Southampton,"
Love that.
Which was very sweet as well. But I'm not 100%, but it might be a go. Maybe we'll have to sort of re-practice It So Easy, which we used to do in the old days.
Oh, God, yeah. That was, because that was it. I mean, as James has said in interviews with Matt, I mean, James in particular was the Guns N' Roses obsessive, wasn't he?
He was. He did learn all, as I've told you before. He learned Appetite in 2 weeks, after I taught him his first D chord.
You taught him his first D chord. I remember that, yeah, and then he just he overtook you as far as guitar virtuosity was concerned quite quickly, didn't he?
Yeah, it was like the end of the 1500 metre when there's one going backwards and one going forwards, and I was going backwards.
Absolutely awesome. And how, just to give us an idea, how excited was James when he saw Duff's bass amp when you were recording the album?
We all still get massively thrilled by stuff like that. I know it's that, we're just still huge fans of music, so when someone you grew up, virtually idolising, stuff like that, it's kind of what keeps the band young. I think we've been very blessed that despite our growing years, we do still feel really young when we're actually in the band.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean about meeting your heroes. I remember when I met Jimmy Page, he was really excited to meet me, and he was a bit embarrassed at first, but I eased him into it, and I think that made his day, Nicky. To be honest, but there you go. Now, when you're on tour, do you do a kind of Red Hot Chili Peppers backstage these days? No alcohol, no carbs, only herbal infusions, yoga mats. Is it like that?
I mean, I'm off the. I've had to stop drinking because my liver's packed up. So unfortunately, I'm really, I don't enjoy it at all. I'd love to have my bottle of champagne on stage, but there's no point to it. There's still tons of booze there. It's just no one's drinking it.
I've noticed that more and more as time goes on with bands as well. Is that they put on riders for everybody else, but they don't really get involved themselves. It's kind of, they're wised up a little bit quicker than the rest of us.
No, it's true. It's very sad and very true. But I mean, James has got to look after his voice, otherwise we'll just end up cancelling gigs,
Yeah. And this
man
is
has screamed so much over his years, he's learning to kind of suck it up a bit.
But you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, there's the sure. Well, I mean, obviously being a rock performer myself, it's even better than. And please drink responsibly. But going out having a few drinks with your friends, that's great. But could there be any greater high, Nicky, than performing to a room full of people that adore you and getting that frisson between yourself and the crowd? It must be very exciting.
It was. I'm in Edinburgh on Saturday night. By the time James had done his acoustics, I'm sort of barefoot in a pair of glittery H&M women's leggings, sort of jumping, nearly touching the ceiling. I get so much adrenaline. In my normal life, I could never be that energetic. Never. And yet on stage, it is a genuine drug feeling that I am just in a totally different world. So God. Amazing.
Well, we can't wait.
Leave you with that image.
We'd leave us, that's going to endure with me for the rest of the tour. But we'll hopefully speak to you next week as well.
Yes.
Catch up with you then. And we definitely want to come and see you at some point during this tour. It'd be lovely to see you.
Yeah, feel free.
Well, lots and lots of love. Have a fantastic few dates in between us speaking to you now and then, and have a great rest of the day, Nicky.
I'm going to watch the Ryder Cup with a lot of pleasure.
That is it. That's rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen. Right there. Thank you very much indeed, Nicky Wire from the Manics. We're going to play. Unfortunately, this will be slightly abridged because we're running out of runway here for the end of the show. But this is the new single, Postcards from a Young Man, the Manics. But right now we've got an extremely special guest. It's so special I've written a poem for him. Not a penguin-related poem, but a poem nonetheless. He's wily, he's willful, he's wondrous, he's wise, he's wicked, he's warm, yet surprising in size. I'm so pleased to say that it's not Danny Dyer. Oh, goodness me, no. It's our own Nicky Wire. From the Manic Street Preachers, of course. Part 2 of the MSP tour diary, isn't it, Nicky?
It is. Sorry about yesterday. I was up and waiting, but they just didn't put us through the call, so it was not my fault, people.
God, was it?
Good for you to say that again. That takes me back. What a record, eh?
I know. Does it though? Does it take you back to that particular year of release? And do you remember what you were doing when it came out?
Yeah, it just takes me back because we signed to Keaveny when they were on there. It was us, them, and Flowered Up really, and the band called East Village, and say that, and Pete and Bob gave us our first ever review in the Melody Maker, Bob Stanley.
Stanley.
We go back a long way.
I see.
He put it up a couple of nights and we shared pizza.
You shared pizza. Bob Stanley wrote a review for you in Melody Maker. Oh, your paths are star-crossed, aren't they?
It was a little corrupt even then, see. We bought a good review with a pizza.
I mean, how good is your memory? Do you remember the topping?
I'm always a margarita man. I'm as plain and simple as you can get.
Yeah, straight down the line in the 90s. But I imagine that your tastes have become a little bit more sophisticated. Hang on, don't tell me. I don't know if you're are you a vegetarian, Nicky?
I'm not, no.
You're not a vegetarian, in which case I'm thinking something like... maybe with one of the... Not a Four Seasons. I'm thinking more of a spinach and ricotta or something like that.
I vaguely got to having pineapple as something exciting on a pizza. I was a vegetarian in the 80s because I loved Morrissey so much, but I hated vegetables. I just ended up living on Kit Kats and chips. And it was just no way to live a life.
It is no way to live a life, you're right. But you're right to cite the Hawaiian as one of the most influential pizzas of all time. I personally can't stand pineapple on a pizza. I find it's a transgression too far for me. I don't agree with it at all. Pepperoni all the way, as far as I'm concerned, Nicky. Now, first of all, so you're in Leeds today. You've woken up in Leeds.
I have woken up in Leeds. Yeah.
What's the vista as you fling back the blinds? Is it a brick wall?
Actually, looking out, nice Victorian buildings, the High Street. I wandered up yesterday to quite a famous high street shop and managed to go in the ladies section and get a new fake leopard print coat, so I was pleased with that.
Oh, Oh, yeah.
I pretended it was for my wife. I said, yes, she's got very long arms, so I've got to test it for her. I felt a bit embarrassed, so I think they fell for it and I took it.
But this must be something that you do quite regularly.
It is, because men's clothes are so tedious this time of year. Everything's a grey or a black, and the ladies have all this wonderful fake print stuff. So I'm always noodling around in there.
Well, exactly. You've always been a man comfortable with both sides of the sexual spectrum, haven't you? You've always been quite happy to rock the dress occasionally, as have I myself. But I haven't got the legs for it like you have, Nicky.
You got the hair, though.
I've got the hair for sure, but the hairy legs. It is a bit of an Ernie Wise look sometimes when I put the dress on. I think I'm a little bit too broad and stocky for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I was always too close to my mum. Nicking her clothes, nicking her hairspray. It's never stopped.
She was worrying for a while, wasn't she?
I don't think she ever was.
No, she don't. Not either. What's wrong with that? So you're going to Derby tonight?
Derby tonight, everything's been going very well. Ian McCulloch joined us in Liverpool for some kind of nothing, and James did Killing Moon with him acoustically, which was a pretty mega moment for us. So that was amazing, and everything's been going well.
It's real wish fulfillment stuff, this record and tour for you, isn't it? Really,
it is. And we even had a message off Duff the other day saying, "Hey guys, I'm in the UK. I might come down to." I might come down to Norwich or Southampton, so we dust off It's So Easy.
That's going to be... you must... If that happens, you must take a photograph of James's face at the appropriate moment and tweet that to us. Because that would be something.
I'll take a picture of myself as I try to remember it.
Oh my God, it's so exciting, isn't it? And what about we're also interested in the more pedestrian aspects of life on the road. Have you got a particular DVDs, box sets, and things like that keep you amused in the fallow moments?
Oh yeah, Larry Sanders Series 1. It's the greatest comedy. I think it influenced everything. If you like The Office, then you'll absolutely adore the Larry Sanders Show. And they finally brought it out. It's never been released over here, and the first complete series is finally out. So that's been keeping us very happy. I'm
writing that on the back of my hand because I never realised that. I used to watch that in the late 90s or whatever it was. I didn't realise that they'd released it on DVD. I've also written Mad Men box set on the back of my hand as well. Have you got into that yet?
I think it's great. It's really brilliantly done TV, but I'm just not that interested in the story.
I see. Well, I've not tried it.
It's not like West Wing or Sopranos for me, the absolute epitome of, box set American TV, and it hasn't quite grabbed me as much as those do. But it's obviously, of a very high quality. I'm going to give it a try. 6 Feet Under was always my high watermark, I must admit. We're going into DVD reviews with Nicky now. That's the way it is. If any listeners are listening and they want to make a suggestion for the next time we get Nicky on next week, then please send them in to us on 64046. We'll forward them on. And so what delights can we expect for the rest of the week on tour? What are you particularly looking forward to? Always looking forward to Manchester. It's always been a pretty wondrous place for us. But, some of the best gigs so far have been in, shall we say, the more unfashionable places, as some people would call it. But coming from an unfashionable place myself, I think you get deeply rewarded by the fans, be it Hull, be it Derby tonight. Sometimes those places get slightly ignored. So, I think there's plenty more to come. No, you're right, actually, because it's in many ways, if you play, and it's been said many times, and I guess because it's kind of true, if you play London or a Manchester or a Glasgow, these are places that are very well visited by rock bands and things like that. So what, as you say, would be described as backwaters get a bit less attention. You're going to get a really visceral response, I suppose, aren't you? Yeah, you do. You get quite an odd response as well when you turn up with a miniskirt and look like in the hotel lobby. In the local Weatherspoons at 3 o'clock in a miniskirt. All right, lads. 2 pints of Kronenberg. What? Oh, what? Have you never seen a 6'5" man in a mini dress before carrying a bass? Shut up. Yeah, I'm sure you've had that before. Well, listen, as always, it is a pleasure, a privilege. We love to speak to you, Nicky. And you will join us next week as well, won't you? I definitely will. I have been sending postcards from every town for the website, but apparently none of them have arrived. That's Royal Mail. Been doing that. But they're on the way. We do know that for sure. Steph's going to sort that out. I guess I'd have to do it on the internet instead.
I know, it's just annoying, isn't it? It's like sending them back from Benidorm in the 70s. You know, they're going to take 2 months, but they'll finally get here. And when they do, we will post them up on the website as soon as we get them. Postcards from the young man that is Nicky Wire. He's sending them to us all the way through the tour. Well, thank you very much, Nicky. Have a kiss on both cheeks to the rest of the band, and we'll speak to you next week.
Thanks a lot, Shaun and Matt.
Cheers, mate. Have a
good one. Soon.
Bye. Now then, on this momentous masturbate morning, we masticate morsels of mouth-watering loveliness, but now we clear our gobs to talk not to a master baker, but to a master bassist. Thanks, Matt, for that one. It is time to speak to one of the great friends of the show. We've had Lloyd Grossman, another great friend of the show. It's part 3 of the Manic Street Preachers tour diary with Nicky Wire. Good morning.
Guten Morgen, Shaun.
Oh, God, how are you? You were explaining that you had a wonderful moment of Freeview madness last night.
Yes, ITV1, ITV2, more 4, 1, E4 plus 1. Never-ending cavalcade of rubbish.
Oh, what a lovely phrase. Never-ending cavalcade of rubbish. That could be the strapline to this show. When you think about it.
Not a word of it.
Not a word of it. But, yeah, we did... We watched a load of rubbish last night as well. We watched a bit of X Factor. And as I said in the previous hour, listening to Katy Perry attempt to sing, it did sound like a buffalo caught in a bear trap. It was one of the worst noises I've ever heard. She sounded distressed. I wanted to go on with some cocodamol. So somebody sit her down. She sounds like she's distressed. But it was shocking, really, to hear.
I missed that. I was on stage last night.
Of course you were, because you were on stage where exactly last night?
We were in Norwich last night. I just woken up in Norwich this morning, and just going to make our way down to Southampton today. It's all very pleasant. Lincoln. We did Lincoln. Never been to Lincoln before the other day on Saturday night. It's quite odd. I don't think they'd had many 6'4" bass players walking up to their castle in a leopard print coat before. I was getting some quite odd looks.
It must be nice, though, to do that, because I think it was you that said the other week, at this time of the year, autumnal male fashions are just so tedious, aren't they?
They are, yeah. The old dark jackets and all that, but... It was lovely. It was a lovely, that lovely autumn morning. It was crisp, and I was just wandering around looking at ruins and stuff. Oh. Very nice. Very soothing for the soul.
Is that one of the things you look forward to when you're on tour? Just because traditionally it's one of the musicians' great beefs, isn't it? That we never get to see anywhere. It's just we get shuttled in, and then we have a few drinks, and then we're on stage, and then we go back to the. I mean, do you get to see a bit of the place that you're going to?
We do, yeah. And if you make the effort, and we only do 2 gigs on the trot now. We always have a day off after on the 3rd, just to make sure Jamesy's voice and my knees are okay. So there's always time, and it is refreshing. Sometimes one has to get our own mind working a bit onto it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just that I mean, at the end of the day, when I always think about musicians, especially the cerebral ones like yourselves, is that you've got to feed the machine, haven't you? You've got to stick some intellectual moments into the brain there that you can cogitate on. Perhaps a lyric will come out the other end.
Oh, definitely. We were watching Oil City Confidential yesterday. The Dr. Feelgood documentary, and it's just so stunningly brilliant piece of work. I'm not even a huge fan of the band, but watching that and watching Wilco on stage, just tried to copy him on stage last night doing a backward duck walk and nearly fell on my arse.
He's such an inspirational character, Wilco Johnson, isn't he? I've never actually watched that Oil City Confidential. I heard a few of the songs off the soundtrack, but
it's worth watching. It is, the whole Canby Island thing and Oil City, and it's just brilliantly done. Julian Temple, I think.
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
Good stuff lately.
Did The Future Is Unwritten, the old Joe Strummer one as well, didn't he? And one of the things that we should remind people of is that the tour diary stuff and the postcard and the photographs are all up on our site if you go to bbc.co.uk/6music. And one of the postcards you've sent is a little quote about the internet. Is that John Lydon?
It is John Lydon, yeah.
What does he say now? He says something... I've lost it now. He just basically...
It's a world of chaos and lies, I think he
That's
said.
What he says. The internet, a world of chaos and lies. What? Do you agree with that?
Yes. But then again, it's just... With John, that's the genius of the man. There's always a sense of sarcasm and wit to him, which people don't get sometimes. That's why some people don't like him, I think. But, you've only got to see the man to know. It's always a twist with John.
Exactly. One eye bulging slightly larger than the other as he leers towards you and says, "Yeah."
It's Richard III, isn't it?
Totally, absolutely fantastic. And well, he must be excited. What are we at now with this tour? Are you in the middle now?
I think it's the longest tour we have done since
Really?
we trudged through Germany in the 90s. For about 5 weeks, drinking Johnny Walker Black Label, and it's just. But having said that, I think we've reached the halfway point, and I shall be home on the weekend. I think we're playing Newport on the weekend, so I shall nip home.
That's nice, isn't it? That'd be nice. Go on, do a bit of hoovering, and then pop back out on the road again. We know how much you like a hoover. We all like a hoover, don't we?
Yeah,
Lovely.
Someone did give me a mini one once on tour, just so I could hoover the bus.
That's fantastic. Oh well, Nicky, and please keep sending us the photographs and the postcards. It's really brilliant, and we're throwing them all up online. What's happening for the rest of the day for you?
It's a nice, relaxing day now. I'm going to pop round the shops, post a postcard to yourself, have some food, and listen to Deer Hunter.
Oh, yes.
My soul. Great album. Jim's really turned me on to it. It's fantastic.
You're right, actually, yeah. We played
some. And then
I'm
going to obviously bump into some city where there is a small version of the London Eye. It's another legacy of New Labour, isn't it? You walk around all these cities, there's always a small version of the London Eye with no one on. Why? Why do we have them? Who makes them?
It's just like being in a rubbish fairground, isn't it? Yeah. That's what it's like. What a waste of money.
Yeah, at least in a rubbish fairground, you know it's rubbish. This is all shiny and white and new, and you just know it's crap.
That's absolutely true. Look, they can almost see our house from here. It's fantastic, isn't it? Brilliant. Let's go round again. Let's not. Oh, dear. No, I'm with you on that. Well, if you do go on there, take a picture from the top and send it to us. Thank you so much. As always, a pleasure and a privilege. We'll speak to you next week. Nicky Wire of the Manic Street Preachers.
Cheers, Shaun.
Cheers, mate. Total ledge. Now then, if we have learned nothing else from the last 3 weeks of Six Music Breakfast shows, and many of us haven't, least of all me, we have learned that one, vertiginous, bass-busting lyric generator is a prince amongst men. Yes, a prince amongst men. A prince amongst men. Yes, he's a rock star, but more than that, he's our friend, and we clutch him to our chest for perhaps a little too long this time, until such time as it is awkward. People, it is time for the last, sadly, of our Manic Street Preachers tour diaries with Nicky Wire.
Hello, Shaun. It's a beautiful morning down in Wales as well. Absolutely gorgeous.
Is it? Is it not? Yeah. Is it crisp and blue?
It is. It's really. This sounds. You can feel the beauty emanating from my bedroom as I survey all in front of me.
Well, so you're at home now, are you?
Yeah, we played Newport on Saturday, Sunday off, and I'm just going over to Bristol after I speak to you to do a show in Bristol tonight. I see. And where are you playing in Bristol tonight? I should know this. We're playing the Colston Hall, actually, which was James, Shaun and Richey's first gig watching Echo and the Bunnymen. So, was it really? Yeah, it was. On the Ocean Rain tour. So, we've played there before. It is a fantastic place. There's brilliant acoustics and stuff. Well, you see, once you get a bit longer in the tooth as a performer, I suppose you start to really appreciate things like acoustics and venues that sound good and venues that sound rubbish, don't you? You do, especially when you play them as much as we have. You do have personal faves. Well, what would you say, this is a technical issue to a degree, but I'm interested in acoustics myself, Nicky. What is the worst and best of British concert halls for playing at, acoustic-wise, would you say, for the performer? Well, everyone tells me the Albert Hall should be the best, but for me it was absolutely awful. Really? I had one of the worst gigs I've ever done. God. It might have been down to the alcohol consumed and probably the variables in my left ear, but I had a terrible time there, whereas I think Glasgow Barrowlands is probably the greatest gig all round. It's got a rubber floor, so everyone bounces up and down. I see. Without hurting their knees, and it's just a fantastic, meaty, thick sound. That's nice, isn't it? I know what you mean. With the Albert Hall, it certainly is a pleasant experience for the people in the auditorium. I'm not so sure. I've never been on stage yet. Myself, I put the word in yet. But they've got those weird mushroomy baffles coming down from the ceiling, haven't they, that are supposed to bounce the sound back down or something. Yeah. It was a rough one. But everyone had a great time except me.
Everyone but me.
It's usually the case.
You reminded me of that bouncy floor of the time when Mosque played the Lee Liberal Club upstairs in 1991. And there was so much pogoing, and it was such a weak roof that the management told us to stop playing, Nicky. So, we could literally have brought the roof in. You see, that's the kind of visceral power of Mosque at their height. But these gigs obviously are seriously pro affairs. But what are I wanted to ask, what are your favourite memories, or least favourite, if you will, of your gigs when you first started? What was it like then? What was it like back in the day, Nicky? Do you have great memories of those times?
Oh, it's spectacular. The first Motown Junk tour, especially the four of us in this van, where my dad had just given us a chair and sort of tied it in the back of the van like an old granny's chair, and that was like the best seat in the house because you could see out the window, and Richey was driving, and Garrick Bay, which is, I think it's outside Glasgow towards the seaside, and they were syringing cider into us. But it was brilliant. We were all sharing rooms, and places like Stoke Wheatsheaf, where the lady in there made us the greatest cooked breakfast ever. And they were when you don't know anything, when you appreciate everything that much more, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course. Everything is just a small. Everything's just so nascent and novel, isn't it? I suppose at that point, and you've not done it before, and it must just be so. Yeah, everything, like you say, even a great cooked breakfast would be brilliant.
Even getting a free soap, a free mini soap.
This is living, guys. Free soap and a full English doesn't get better than this. It really doesn't.
They were very exciting times. Just thinking there's four of you against the world. Really, It doesn't get. I think you have two moments in your career when that initial surge, which is amazing, and then when you go from the sort of underground to the overground, like we did with Design for Life. When you've had all the kind of cool kudos, but then that sort of springs into sales as well. Those two periods are pretty spectacular.
That's it, isn't it? It's a bit like, I always think, it's like everything in life, really. It's like a young footballer's career, Yeah. It's also exciting. You can't go at that level forever. You've got to be sort of sanguine about things, haven't you? You can't have that level of excitement all the way through your life. You wouldn't make it past 40, would you?
No, you got to dig in, like whether you like Paul Scholes or gigs or whatever, isn't it? There comes a time when you glide a bit.
Exactly. Let the youngsters do the legwork. That's what I say. You know what I mean? But and at this point of the tour, the sort of later point of it, are there members of the band which are like, come on, I don't ever want to stop touring, this is brilliant, and others that are like, I can't wait for it to finish now? What?
Yeah, the crew want to keep it going, basically. Whereas the band, but the three of us are, it's just such, there's still another week left, It's by far the longest tour. I mean, they were all in the Celtic Manor, staying in Tiger's Woods, Ryder Cup room on the weekend. I came home, so...
Good grief.
Why was me the 30th coolest person in Britain, according to the NME? I was home.
Never asked you about that. Yeah, was that a surprise and an eye-opener when you read that? Did you get a tip-off?
No, I didn't, actually. I was quite pleased. I think I went up 18 places from 48.
That is brilliant. 18 places on last year is fantastic. We leafed through it with bated breath. As I got to the top 10, I was like, oh, bloody brilliant. I'm in the top 10. I was nowhere near the top 50. I couldn't believe it.
Maybe next year. Sure.
Maybe next year. And just a quick one, as you come off tour with your downtime, what will you be doing? You as a very literary man, would you consider a novel or a memoir? Come on, Nicky, do it.
Just walking over the park, picking conkers with the kids. That's all I did yesterday, and I do love the smell of conkers.
Yeah.
And we just realised we're going to Australia, so we haven't done our song Australia for about 2 years, so all of a sudden it's going to be a bit silly going to tour Australia and not putting Australia in.
It will be, yeah. So you're going to have to relearn that.
So we started doing it in sound checks, yes, in a mild panic.
Oh God, that's understandable. Hey, well, listen, if you ever do the autobiography in 3 parts, get in contact with us. We'll throw it out some title for your autobiography.
I will do.
But thank you so much. It's been really lovely to speak. Hopefully, we'll get you in person soon.
Yes, no, it will happen, Shaun. It will happen.
And good luck with the rest of the tour. As you say, you're in Bristol tonight.
Yeah, night in Bristol and 2 nights in Brixton Academy in London, so back to the big smoke.
Fantastic. Well, listen, for all those people that are going to be down the front seeing it, will be a fantastic night, but have a great time. That was Nicky Wire, of course.